Hello, everyone. This topic is very close to my heart as I feel that so many families, so many therapists are struggling to explain this to families or to help families to see the importance of this as they are dealing with children who may not be so happy in their early development and may not have achieved all the milestones in all the different directions, including physical, emotional, social, academic. So this is really a short session on for children for all ages, from families that are struggling on many, many different levels, to have, I think, a little bit more hope for parenting a very difficult child. I want to be able to help you to see that there is so much there that we actually can harvest from. The first thing that I want you to figure out and think about is that IQ is not EQ. Having IQ often has very little to do with a child that is troubled. EQ does not, emotional IQ, does not develop at the same rate and speed always as IQ. So what a child may understand cognitively, he may not also understand emotionally on the same level. Especially children who are highly verbal, highly street smart, and they can make you laugh with their funniness of how they catch innuendo and use inferencing, right? But when it comes to their meltdown behavior and their frustrations, and it often feels like it's random and like it's coming out of the blue, and the parent is like, what do I have here? And the parent wakes up in the morning saying, I don't know what child I'm going to have today, right? There can be multiple reasons for that. One of them being that it's not necessarily true that if the child is cognitively able, they're as equally emotionally able. And so when their systems are not giving them the right information, it may be a sensory piece, it may be a motor piece, it may be an overall anxiety piece. If their systems are not providing them security, the child is feeling out of control. And when they feel the sympathetic arousal of that out of control feeling, they so fear that they're going to be totally overwhelmed that they actually increase the anxiety and do become overwhelmed. This is not something that is willful in behavior. It is something that's coming from deep within. There's also a system that we call interoception. And interoception is a very interesting eighth sensory system, as Kelly Maude likes to put it. This system is a system that's really deep within us, connecting the brain to the body to the brain through our parasympathetic nervous system, which is really the system that carries our emotional content, that carries our visceral content, our need to urinate, our need to fill up our hunger. Those kind of needs that's coming from deep within really hunkers around this interoceptive system. And this interoceptive system is the system that other systems must come and land on. It's a landing page, and it tells us how our body is feeling. If this system is out of place, it doesn't matter what your IQ is. You're going to feel overwhelmed by the very messaging coming from your own body. I have many mantras that I use in my trainings, and one of them is, if they could, they would. Children are not born out of the womb saying, oh, I was born so I can be irksome one day. I was born so I can give my parent a hard time today. That's not true. There is a certain amount of temperament, yes, that I'm born with. It's in my DNA. But that temperament, according to the research, needs to be activated by the way that my environment acts upon that temperament. So yes, there's a parenting piece to it, but usually that's all covered with beautiful nurturing and cooing from the parent, if that is the only piece that's at play here. Of course, we need to extrapolate and find out where are things not being put in the right space and place. But if everything goes well and the child develops typically, then they want to please us. They're born to please us. And even as they go through their terrible twos and their 4 or 5 year old nightmare stage, it's not because it's something that needs to be quote unquote wrong or right. It simply is what it is. The world is big out there. And for me to feel like I can be productive and act upon the world, that takes a whole lot of development. So having meltdowns is part of development. Having too many meltdowns is really where we talk about the troubled child, right? And then we have to look at where does this go in the not the right space. But if we can just think about if my child could, he would, she would. If we just think about that, then we think with a different lens on the child than thinking rather that that's willful. He's smiling because he just clobbered his sister over the head with a shoe, right? That means he must know what he's doing. No. If my interoceptive system is not working okay, this part of me that shows you something doesn't know what this part of me is actually feeling. There's a disconnect. And so I'm showing you here what is the most neutral that I can be, even if it's a smile that looks like I know what I'm doing. I don't. And I'm feeling as equally anxious about what I just did than you are feeling watching and observing that and trying to stop the sibling from being hurt. If the child could, they would. We need to figure out why they cannot. It's if you're looking at it from a willful behavior lens, that the child is stubborn or rigid or whatever epithet you want to put on it, then immediately you're going to go into a behavioral lens where you're going to expect the child to do what you want them to do. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences, which can be really helpful for kids who are typically developing. But please check first if there isn't a milestone or two that's not in place, that's preventing and prohibiting the child from actually showing the pleasing side that they need to have. And remember this, anxious kids are always on the tip of the threshold of blowing over. And we don't always see the anxiety until that last moment. Praxis and motor planning is another issue that if the child can't figure out the next idea what to do, they often will resort to some kind of destructive behavior or some kind of a short action behavior and impulsive behavior because they don't have the sequential quality of practic application in order to do the better route of more constructive action. Another mantra that I use a lot, go slower to go faster. As a parent, you are going to worry about your child's future. Most professionals out there are busy telling you how behind your child may be in X, Y, and Z. 2 years here, 3 years there, 1 year here. They're behind. And so the first notion in the parent's mind is, I need to get my child to catch up. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to learn alongside his peers. I don't think there's anything wrong with that thought. As long as that catch up doesn't go with a tinge of anxiety, let's do it fast. When a child's already showing some developmental delay somewhere, it automatically means that there's a processing speed delay. And us wanting to be anxious about moving faster increases the delay. That doesn't mean we have to stand still, but you meet the child where they're at. You work with them exactly with what their comfort zone is, which decreases the anxiety, brings the parasympathetic system in a place where there's a hold and a control for the child. Once the child is in control, then you playfully use an obstruction for problem solving or something that's going to add to what they feel comfortable to doing. And because they are comfortable and because you're so sweet and nice, and because I'm believing that the child would want to please me if they could, the child will follow. But they won't follow if they are here and we are expecting them to go here. If there's too many little hills to climb, I'm out of here. No, thank you. See you later. Or meltdown, fight, flight, and freeze. So I'm urging parents to choose your battles wisely. Hanging with a child, being present with a child, just taking them up one step at a time is far more calling on their capability rather than on their vulnerability. And I think that's so important. This is a strength-based model that I'm proposing here, working with what the child can bring to the table, what they can feel good about doing, what they can feel validated about. They have an action and they have a purpose and they have ability to give and to be a part of their community. And not a judgment call of you need to catch up, you need to be different, you need to do what I want you to do. I know better than you for you. Meet them where they're at and carefully scaffold it up. That's where they will be able to follow. And this is the other mantra that I love to use. Today is the scaffold for tomorrow. If we are worried about the child's future, which is normal, healthy, and good, we often tend to mull over our time to look at the future. But the future depends very much on what you're doing today. So if we harness this present moment to the fullest capacity that we can, you're building the ladder, you're scaffolding for tomorrow to be better. So when we co-regulate them in this moment, that this moment can feel successful and productive, guess what? They're going to want to do it again tomorrow. And when they do it tomorrow, you can add again. You can keep adding. Follow their lead and add. That comfort zone activity is essential for them to springboard from. Who cares if they always want to start with playing trains? Who cares if they always want to start playing with blocks? I don't care. I'll do that for months if that's what you want me to do. But we're going to find 1,001 ways to expand those blocks into something different each and every time. And with that, we're building flexibility, we're building nervous system, and moreover, we're building confidence. When I have confidence, I can sometimes overcome odds that I never even knew I was going to be capable of. So parents or therapists who are supporting parents, it's all about brain plasticity. And our brains are plastic until the day that we pass away. It doesn't matter the age. I can be talking to a parents of 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 2-year-olds. We all need regulation. We all need to be able to harness the most out of the moments that we can. We all need to learn to move forward. The age doesn't matter. What does matter is intensity and frequency. So even as I'm saying to you, go slower when you are in the moment with them so that that moment can count, right? I'm also saying that there are programs out there that can give intensive stimulation, that can give intensive work so the nervous system could fire at a faster rate and speed. So while you're working here, the intensity can go here, and then the two can start meeting. And you have to find that complement of what's going to be necessary for your child. So brain plasticity is born from developmental stages. And that's really what the baby does when they start to develop, and that enormous brain growth that they go through, and especially the first 2 years of life, right? It's very important stages. Stimulation to the brain from all kinds of experiences and all kinds of activities is crucial for the child of that age, as it also remains important throughout life. The dance in a good intervention program with your therapist is to create programs that can stimulate the brain to fire and then create the adaptive response to wire. So yes, it's firing and it's wiring for integration, right? So you need a nice intense stimulation with high intensity frequency. And then you need to be able to have time to create that adaptive response where you need to go slower to actually make that stimulation come alive in a productive way. That's the dance. Until next time, take care.